Okay, this is to introduce the burning question, which shouldn't be a burning question. Who wrote the book of Hebrews? I covered that in the earlier parts of part 5, but I need to stress it a little bit. Okay, first of all, for sure it's not Paul, all right, because look, Timothy has been released, with whom, if he comes soon, I will see you. All right, so Timothy being released means that was the year of the 4 emperors. That means Paul was executed. So whoever's writing is still alive, so it's not Paul. All right? And he's also not with Timothy because he's waiting for Timothy. So it's not Paul. All right? He is somewhere near Timothy, which means he's somewhere in Italy, because he's saying those in Italy, and of course if it's the year of the 4 emperors, he's going to be a little chary about saying who they are. All right, because Timothy's just been released, and, a new emperor gives a donative of releasing prisoners, but they could always change their minds, so you're going to be real careful what you say. All right? And that means that it's 68 AD, Titus is investing Jerusalem. This letter probably was written before Vespasian took office, but yeah, it would have had to have been before Vespasian took office. So it was probably just after Nero was executed. And I forget who was next. Was it Otho or Vitellius? Galba? I'm not sure who was next, but it was one of those. All right. And so they're taking advantage of the niceness that follows the honeymoon period of a new emperor. And it's obviously not Paul. Okay, Paul's dead. So whoever this is, though, he's got to have been from Jerusalem. See, if he comes soon, I will see you. The siege at Jerusalem was very desultory at the time. You could get in and you could get out. Because they really didn't want to besiege the city and take it. They wanted to just stop the disturbance because Jerusalem was the center of trade, and they needed to make sure trade would be flowing, and the Jews were very disruptive beginning about 66 AD when there was another procurator. You can read all that on the internet. The point is that this guy obviously had been in Jerusalem. He was respected in Jerusalem. He was now away from Jerusalem. Okay, maybe he had gone with Timothy to see Paul. That's possible. And then he himself was, wasn't close enough to Paul to be arrested. And then he stayed around somewhere. And then, this restored to you sooner means that he had been in Jerusalem, which is further buttressed by the fact that his letter is very scathing. Okay? This is just one passage about it, and, they always, tame it down in the English. Okay? This is really a very strong warning. We're going to go through it. But the point that he's making here, and he'll make it many times, is that the Jews who were in Jerusalem were obviously believing what Paul wrote. This wouldn't be a relevant sentence on the right-hand side. But they were compromising with the legalistic Jewish Christians who were still trying to obey the Mosaic Law. That was a problem since Acts 15. You can just read it in your favorite translation. You'll see it. All right. So they were staying behind. They were obviously believing what Paul wrote because this is relevant, but at the same time they were still there, and they shouldn't be there. Because this guy, whoever he is, he carries a lot of weight with his audience, because he gets sterner and sterner, as you're going to see when we go through the book, in condemning them for still being there and for compromising with those observing the law. So whoever he is, he was not, he's got to be older, and he's got to be very respected, and he must have initially at least come from Jerusalem that he could get back in there like that. All right? Even under a mild siege, that's an issue. And to be restored to them. So obviously he intended to go, and then all this happened, and so now he's waiting. All right, and he's not in Jerusalem, he's somewhere nearby Timothy. Okay, and he's a Jew. So that leaves out a whole bunch of speculation about who wrote this book. Okay, there is some question. It's obviously not Paul who wrote it. There is some question as to whether he was an eyewitness. And I don't think you can tell that from the text. People use this phrase here in blue, it was confirmed to us by those who heard, to indicate that whoever wrote the letter wasn't an eyewitness. I'm not so sure that's actually said in the text. The author is making an issue of other people who heard. All right? See, this word after is really not there. Okay? A better translation, now let's do it this way. All right? A better translation is here. Okay? Or KJV's all right, first began to be spoken and by those that heard him. All right? So he's making an issue of the other witnesses. That doesn't mean he isn't one. Okay? That's not saying he isn't one. It's not saying he is either. But this is very impersonal construction. Okay? This is the phrase that's being translated, okay, first spoken, those who heard. And this is very impersonal construction. He's using hostess for one thing. That's High Greek. All right? And the whole thing is very educated. All right? He's using High Greek. So it's very impersonal, it's very official. He's stressing the message, not the man. All right? So that doesn't mean he wasn't there during Christ's ministry. So is this an apostle writing? I doubt it, but maybe. Not all the apostles are, put their name on books. So all I know is that this is very High Greek. It's very impersonal, it's very official. That's what he means to stress. So I can't really say that he wasn't there. He obviously believes he, got it about what Paul was saying. And so he's stressing the authority of those who heard Christ, whether he's one of them or not. So it could be that the apostle, under the Holy Spirit, didn't want to give his name, if he's an apostle, or whoever he is, he's got an awful lot of authority with the Jerusalem Jews to be talking like this. Because he really beats on them with this. All right? So he's somebody that they respect. That argues for him being first century. That argues for him being an eyewitness. All right? And more than that, I can't speculate. All right? So he's definitely a Jew. He's definitely known to the Jerusalem Jews who got it about what Paul was saying, but they were compromising with the legalistic Jerusalem Jews, and this whole letter is about get out of there. And you're going to see that in later videos. I hope I finished dispensing with the main speculation. This is not by Paul, and it's not by a Gentile, and it is by somebody who has authority over, or respect anyway, of the Jews in Jerusalem.